So this is Tim Rifat speaking from his armchair in Vietnam. And for those of you who don't know me, Tim Rifat is the United Kingdom's leading expert on remote viewing. And all the intelligence agencies have me as the leading expert worldwide on remote viewing. But that, of course, is secret. And the world expert on remote sensing. What's remote sensing? Well, if you read this book, it explains how to read information from other people's brains and or their biophysical body and or their quantum field to take any secret from them. And of course that means there's no national security and there are no secrets to anyone who's mastered remote sensing. And we've got a course on remote sensing with lots of typos, but you're welcome to correct it. Available from Mike. And this is the original remote viewing book, which was viciously cut to pieces, edited, but has got all the Defense Intelligence Agency documents about psychic warfare and microwave weapons in the back. So that's useful for that, from the 70s, mid-70s too. And this is the book that should have been published by Random House, where I got some shitty little publisher to publish the book that this lot didn't publish because they were leaned on by the British government. Here's the author of remote viewing, what it is, who uses it, and how to do it, and remote viewing, the definitive user's guide. So, you can get this book free on Siloed dash, or sci-lord.com. We had to put psychicwarfare.com and all the Jeremiah Schwartz.com info behind a paywall due to the neo-Stalinist British making anything and everything illegal, even if it's true. And since Mike doesn't want to get carted off to jail again by the Swedes on instruction from the British, psychicwarfare.com and the Jeremiah Schwartz services are all behind the paywall, so you'll have to pay him to see. I'd be quite happy having them out there and ready to go, but being in Vietnam, the British can F off and die. But poor old Mike doesn't want to be arrested for a second time and all his gear stolen. Because remember, Europe's become totally neo-Stalinist. Anyway, to continue. I was talking about the end of America with the suitcase nukes going off under Tesla batteries, and as we speak, the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and the NSA and all the other three-digit F-wits in American unintelligence are scouring the land for any missing Tesla batteries since Tesla came out, and it's been out. It was the first electric car manufacturer on scale in the world, so they've been about for decades. Thank you very much. So you can imagine that since I talked about Cobalt 16, how to deploy it in every possible manner on my rinse.com show, anyone who thought they might get into a war with America, an existential one, would of course be going to scrapyards and buying up Tesla batteries, and the Russians, Chinese and North Koreans, of course, wouldn't need to purchase a suitcase nuke, but of course MI6 and the Europeans would, because if they want to take out America for their one world Jewish government, the World Economic Forum doesn't want Trump getting in the way of the one world Jewish government. They of course would have suitcase nukes, which they had. Al-Qaeda allegedly, according to MI6, bought two. So even the mad Muslims allegedly had two of these suitcase nukes, knew how to destroy America with the cobalt batteries, thanks to me. But let's go to the culprit that's most likely to end America. And remember the deadline the Americans have given to the Iranians is 28th of this month. So hopefully we should see America destroyed next month. So we can see since the last video that the head of America's largest intelligence agency, the NSA, has been fired by Trump. Trump was in a fury, an absolute fury. That this imbecile hadn't informed him that Iran had the capability of destroying the United States. And of course, if we have a suitcase nuke in Britain with Tesla batteries, we can take out the UK and the wind blows across Western Europe. So that's the end of Western Europe. And of course, whoever detonates it can blame it on, cameraman? The Iranians. If in doubt, blame it on the Iranians. So with Europe going to war against Russia, the perfect way to wipe out the enemies of Russia, which are the Europeans, when the war starts, is to detonate a suitcase nuke in the UK or Ireland with some Tesla batteries and let the wind kill off the European filth. And of course you can gauge how much cobalt 60 you want to release, so by the time it gets to Russia, it's relatively harmless. So as you can see, we're on the cusp of the end of the West. The war with Iran will see the end of the Western filth. You can see why I'm in Vietnam. I love Vietnam. So let's just have a look at the story. New York Times. It lets us go there, since we're not a subscriber. But are we getting a story? There we are. General Timothy Hogue, who was also the head of US Cyber Command, was one of several national security officials fired. And there we go. And it's not on the advice of conspiracy theorists. And his deputy was fired, and some other officials were fired. So you can see the Rothschilds taunting will crush you like a flea, and your ramblings will have no effect on reality. What's totally wrong. In fact, the Rothschilds are going to be crushed like fleas by cobalt 60, and their ramblings will have no effect on reality as they're covered with cobalt 60. So it caused such a stir, the last video, which is amazing since I've only got 500 subscribers, but I have got 500 intelligence agencies and all their staff who are fixated on my site So you can see that all the figures from YouTube are bogus. But anyway, it's caused a bloodletting, a major shake-up of the US intelligence community, which is navigating significant changes in the first 2 months of Trump administration. Trump was in such a fury that no one had informed him about Cobalt 60 and the end of America, and that the Iranians not only had the capability, but were one step away from wiping out America, making Trump the last American president. He's gone into a frenzy, and he's been getting rid of NSA chief, NSA deputy, and a whole string of others. Now, for those of you who don't know what remote viewing is, it's the practice of seeking impressions about a distant or unseen subject, purportedly sensing with the mind. And since scientists don't know what the mind is, I do, of course, but they don't. Well, it's the mind, but where is it? In the brain, or is it the quantum field, or is it somewhere else? And of course, if you want to get started on remote viewing, you can read the book on sci-law.com and then get a remote sensing course and a remote viewing course, all from Mike. And it won't cost you an arm and a leg like these American agencies. And here we got Stanford researcher explains why the CIA is still using a remote viewing. And of course, you can see the American government, deep state, is desperately getting their remote viewers to try and find the Iranian suitcase nukes, which are buried under the Tesla batteries. So Musk will go down in history as the man that wiped out the West. They of course can't find them because I'm blocking them. Why? Sochovanov, number 2. I absolutely despise the American filth. And of course, being the most powerful psychic, Sochovanov number 3, it doesn't matter how many American remote viewers they got, because you're only as powerful as the most powerful of the group, and I'm not the group, and I use Sochovanov number 2 to take away the remote viewing capability, and I've used Sochovanov number 1 to install my sequestration programming into all of them, so they see and say and are controlled by yours truly, past, present and future, from their conception, because all of them died from the Cobalt 60, which was caused by me. Therefore their entire life was caused by me, and their entire effect from conception to death by me is controlled by me. So anyone with Cobalt 60 is sequestered to be my total slave, past, present and future, and in all other incarnations, because I'm a real nasty bastard. Therefore the Americans have zero chance of finding anything I don't want them to find. Isn't that good? Cameraman.
Brilliant.
I know. And next we got this woman. USA beat the Soviets on Cold War doing astral projection. Well, since Putin came to me and he was being killed by an American psychic warfare agent who his psychic bodyguard couldn't stop, so he had to come to me. That's true. The USA did beat the Soviets in the Cold War doing psychic warfare, even though the Soviets had all this scientific research. Remember Sochovanov number 3, you're only as good as your most powerful psychic. And of course, Hollywood and the music industry have been powering up the people who are doing the psychic warfare, which of course are the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the royal family, and their minions in the psychic warfare program. And then of course we've got all the particle accelerator stuff and the aliens who've been the masters of the Americans since the 50s, when they shot down 600 US aircraft trying to shoot them down, and the Americans gave up and signed a treaty. So you can see why the Soviets were taken down, because of course the aliens and walk-ins into the Rothschild, Rockefeller royal family, which of course is just possession technology, which I explained, won the Cold War. And remember they had Colin Bloy, who was a Nagwal man, who acted as the 5D processor. And they had Alistair Crowley to beat Hitler and get him to make every single wrong decision to lose the war for the Germans. But overviewing that, you've got me, who's rewritten history, where Crowley beats the Russians, controlled by me, because I'd never been born. Mother's a German, and the thought of her marrying a Turkish Cypriot would have got us sent to a concentration camp in Hitler's Germany. A nice blonde, blue-eyed Aryan marrying a darkie. What's the world coming to, cameraman? Miscegenation? No, no, no. And of course, the Soviet Union was run by Jews for Jews, Bolsheviks, Jewish, Lenin, Jew, Stalin, Rothschild, Jew, Gorbachev. Guess what race he was, cameraman?
Jewish.
Jewish, that's it. NKVD head Jewish, and the majority of the power brokers in the Soviet Union were Jewish. So you can see why the Soviet Union had to go. Now, since the Americans are going to be covered with Cobalt 60, and we talked about low levels up the nose, turning them into zombies, what about lower levels? That just damage the brain but don't turn them into zombies. Well, high energy radiation such as X-rays and gamma rays, which is given off by Cobalt 60, can increase the risk of cancer. Exposure to radiation can increase the risk of cancer. Do X-rays and gamma rays cause cancer? Studies have linked radiation therapy to treat cancer with an increased risk of leukemia, thyroid cancer, early onset breast cancer, and some other cancers. Radiation as a carcinogen. The modifications induced by low levels of radiation dose may be transmitted to daughter cells and may lead to uncontrolled cell growth and consequently cancer. Does radiation cause cancer? Radiation may disassemble atoms and cause DNA damage in healthy cells, leading to potentially serious side effects including cancer. America's top oncologist warns 6 billion vaxxed will die from cruel and unusual cancers. Unusual cancers are killing vaxxed. You can listen to his interview with Tucker Carlson, which I think is on YouTube. Yeah, Tucker's on YouTube. So the global elites, blah, blah, blah. He says the virus itself trashes your immune system, leaving it weak for years. Then the mRNA shots, they flip the switch off on your body's ability to fight inflammation. It's a vicious loop, a perfect circle, teeing up aggressive cancers that are exploding worldwide, fast and feral, and behaving in aggressive and unpredictable ways the experts have never seen before. With 5 billion doses in arms, the experts are losing sleep and they're spilling secrets Big Pharma once buried. So, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, a world-class oncologist and billionaire cancer drug researcher, sat down with Tucker Carlson. And, quote, the vaccinated, they're staring down a depopulation disaster thanks to what Dr. Sun Xiong calls a perfect circle. The virus shredding immune systems for years, then the mRNA jabs flipping off the body's ability to fight inflammation. The payoff, cancer, aggressive and unstoppable. Now, what's the net effect of this? Well, we know that all of the medical staff in Canada have been vaccinated, apart from a few who got the push. With the nurses, and in America, the vast majority have got this inoculation, and we're already seeing 10 vaccinated nurses were diagnosed with brain tumours all at once. Now, can you imagine with these turbo cancers, young and healthy patients have died days or even hours after diagnosis? Now, can you imagine low levels of gamma radiation tearing up your DNA? We're not talking about 1 gram per of cobalt-60 per square mile. We're talking, say, about the under 10,000th of a gram per square mile. So you're not a zombie, but it's destroying your DNA, especially the DNA in your mitochondria, leading to cancer. Now, you've got repair mechanisms, the p53 gene, and a whole host of others. I talked about how to give people cancer on my Rumble channel, so you can go to that if you want to look at the intricate details of how to give people cancer using remote influencing, remote manipulation. But as we see, Charles is one of my victims, with, of course, Middleton and the former Defence Secretary. And Netanyahu, of course, was targeted by the Iranians, so the Iranians are getting quite good at it as well. So watch out, Hesketh, and the rest of you. Kiss goodbye to your prostates. But of course, you won't have time to, because you'll be covered in cobalt-60 from the suitcase nukes. Now, people who've had this treatment, their p53 genes that stops you getting cancer is gone, and the repair mechanisms that repair your DNA when they get breakages, the most nasty ones are double breaks in the DNA, which I explained in the cancer video, so I'm not going back across it. They can't repair it, which means that the gamma radiation from cobalt-60 will cause the people dying from turbo cancer to get into supercharged turbo cancers. So anyone that's exposed to the gamma radiation from the cobalt-60 in under 10,000th of a gram doses will be dying, not over a period of decades, as the Rockefeller-Rothschild planned with this depopulation program, but in a matter of months. So whoever's had the inoculation will be dead within a matter of months from even low levels of cobalt-60 contamination. So, first we get the ones who die within a matter of minutes from 1 gram per square mile. Then we get the ones that get zombie eyes from 1,000th of a gram, maybe down to 10,000th of a gram. We need to do serious research on how long it takes to turn a human into zombies with a cobalt-60, but luckily, come Trump's attack on Iran in May, we'll have a big laboratory and many, many unwilling victims. But under 10,000th of a gram, it would give you cancer over a period of decades. Like, for example, with Hiroshima, the people who got exposed to the radiation from the Hiroshima bomb died decades later from cancers due to their exposure to the radiation. But the people who've had their immune systems and their P53 gene destroyed by the inoculations and the shedding and the chemtrailing and the swabs up the nose, and of course the 5G, which destroys your immune system, and the 4G, which destroys your immune system. Microwaves destroy your immune system, and of course the Starlink satellites bathing the planet in radiation, which damages your immune system. The net result is that under 10,000th of a gram, maybe down to 100,000th of a gram per square mile, will be a death sentence to cause supercharged turbo cancers in these 5 billion at-risk, the ones who've been vaxxed. So one suitcase nuke detonated by the Iranians with, say, 50 Tesla batteries, that would be 45 kilos worth. So you've got 10, giving you 450, let's call it 500 kilos, to make it easy for the maths. You've got 2.5 tons, well, let's call it just over 2 tons of cobalt-60 released into the atmosphere from the site of the suitcase nuke. And then of course we talk about the wind, but it isn't just the wind, is it? Because it's going to sit around there. Once it goes off, it ain't going away. So any winds and anyone going into the community, you know, it isn't just the immediate winds, it's there forever, and you can't mop it up because it's so vicious. So that will be the end of America. Just one suitcase nuke with 50 Tesla batteries, thanks to the death goat Jew Elon Musk, who wiped out America. And of course, you can't be sure, once the war starts with Iran, who detonated the damn thing. You know, was it the Russians? Was it the Chinese? Was it the North Koreans? Was it the Iranians? Was it MI6 and the World Economic Forum, who want America destroyed for their one world Jewish government? Now remember, in 140 years, America will be pristine territory again. And of course, what have all the billionaires been saying? What do they want to do to the population? They want to get rid of them. So for the World Economic Forum, wiping out America, especially with Trump getting in their way, is a good thing. So one can see that not only are the Americans to be worried about the Iranian suitcase nuke, but the MI6 suitcase nuke, the Russian suitcase nuke, the Chinese suitcase nuke, the North Korean suitcase nuke, and who else bought? Al-Qaeda bought too. So could it be an Al-Qaeda suitcase nuke that goes off in America? And of course Al-Qaeda hates Sunnis, so seeing Iran turn to glass, great, get rid of the apostates. You see the problem, it's getting quite nasty, cameraman. If you were American, would you want to stay in America? Now, in case you didn't believe me, oh, Tim Reefer, he's just bullshitting. No, the Americans were in such a panic, not only sacking the head of the NSA and his deputy, but they went to the leading Jewish remote viewer, who was part of their remote viewing and psychic warfare program, Yuri Geller, to see whether he would verify what Tim Refat was saying. And lo and behold, we're on the dailymail.com. CIA Nostradamus, Yuri Geller, reveals a terrifying premonition for Trump and an imminent apocalypse date. I have seen Armageddon and it is real, with walls of fire, US bases in flames, the cities of the Middle East in ruins, even the sea boils. Well, you can imagine after the Americans get covered with Cobalt 60. And remember, you senators and congressmen and intelligence chiefs and billionaires and Trump, unless your bunker is lined with lead, if it's just a concrete bunker, then the Cobalt 60 gamma rays pass through concrete and you'll be killed slowly and horribly, not fast and quickly like the population, but slowly by gamma rays, which are sitting on top of you, on top of your bunker. And you can't come out, and then you'll be slowly cooked by the gamma rays unless you've got a totally lead-lined bunker. So all of these billionaires who bought bunkers in the United States, you want a refund. And all of those billionaires who have bought property in New Zealand, you better get on your jet double quick, because if you catch a whiff of Cobalt 60, it'll be too late and you'll never make it, or if you do make it to New Zealand, you'll wish you hadn't, because you'll be dying slowly and horribly from low levels of Cobalt 60. So you see how bad it is. So all of you bought bunkers in the United States, unless they're lead line, you want to get your money back pretty damn quick and leave the country. Definitely by April 28th, before the attack on Iran. And here's the entire story. If you subscribe. I have seen Armageddon and it's real, with walls of fire, US bases in flames, and the Middle Eastern cities ruins, even the sea balls. This is not mere imagination. I see doomsday in the minute after Iran unleashes a nuclear bomb. So you can read the rest of that when you subscribe. And let's go down, well, let's go over the story. I can read super fast, so I don't need to subscribe, but the rest of you, if you want to read the story, you can subscribe. So, here's the story. CIA Nostradamus, Yuri Geller reveals a terrifying premonition for Trump and an imminent apocalypse date. I've seen Armageddon and it's real, with walls of fire, space flames, and Middle Eastern cities and ruins, and the sea boils. This is not mere imagination. I've had premonitions all my life. I see things before they happen. But the vision that has been haunting me for the past few days is the most terrifying yet. I see doomsday in the minutes after Iran unleashes a nuclear bomb. Global disaster ahead. CIA Nostradamus Yuri Geller urges Trump to prevent catastrophic apocalypse. Here's why. Yuri Geller's bold claims carry weight in intelligence circles due to his past involvement with the CIA's Stargate project. Where did we hear about the Stargate project, cameraman? A Cold War era program aimed at using remote viewing to gather intelligence physically and, of course, use remote manipulation to take out their enemies or control them. So, renowned illusionist and self-proclaimed psychic Yuri Geller, who previously worked with the CIA on these secret Stargate program, has delivered a chilling premonition that US President Donald Trump must act swiftly to prevent a nuclear catastrophe involving Iran. In a dramatic message, Geller urged Trump to heed his warning, at least listen to General Anthony Cotton, head of the US Strategic Command, who recently claimed Iran could amass enough fissile material for a nuclear bomb in less than a week. If I chose, I'm pleading with President Trump to listen. Geller said President Trump must prevent this and do so now. A deal that could doom the world. According to Geller, the attempt to re-engage Iran through a new nuclear agreement would be a catastrophe. Would be a catastrophic. The regime will exploit diplomacy as a smokescreen to advance its nuclear weapons program. A nuclear deal will be the end of the world, he says. The Ayatollahs will lie their way to a bomb and use its perfect cover. Geller says Trump stands at a crossroads in history. Either he becomes the man who saved the world or the one who allowed it to burn. So Cotton said to the US Senate that Iran is just days away from reaching its breakout time. the point which it could produce enough enriched uranium for a single nuclear bomb. And he goes on, I've seen Armageddon and it's real, with walls of fire, US bases in flames, and Middle Eastern cities in ruins. Talking about the vision that's been haunting me for the past few days, I see doomsday in the minutes after Iran unleashes a nuclear bomb. I know it's Iran because I can see their military personnel. I see their military personnel turning keys. I hear the Farsi language being spoken. There is only one nation on earth that has the firepower to prevent this nightmare from becoming reality. He foreshadowed that if the Middle Eastern nation gets the chance, they would smuggle a bomb across the border into Israel and detonate it in the middle of a city, or even attempt to set off the bomb in the ports of Philadelphia, New York or Miami. Thanks to the open borders, of course, we can see that bringing a nuclear weapon into the United States under Biden was a slam dunk, and you can be sure anyone who wanted to bring nuclear weapons into America under Biden did. And if they had suitcase nukes, they are in America. Iran is racing to get the bomb. Of that there is no doubt, and it will do anything to make this happen. Noted that paranormous be before adding. The regime knows it cannot survive without the ultimate deterrent, but is not there yet. President Trump must prevent this, and do so now, Geller further said, which I totally agree with Yuri Geller. Once they get a nuclear weapon, they'll be bound to smuggle it into America across that porous border, or in the port, where you've got all those lovely containers, only 1% of which are ever inspected, and we know, of course, you can pay off inspectors. So once Iran does get a nuclear weapon, it hasn't got a missile like the Great Kim Il-sung, the Hwasong 17 or 18, to drop on the US, or better still, the Tesla gigafactories, to wipe out Western Hemisphere. So it's the only place that makes sense for the Iranians to have the bomb as a deterrent is in the United States. And of course Geller is absolutely right in everything he's saying, if it hadn't been for one fact and one fact alone. The fact being that former Russian security advisor Alexander Lebed once claimed that up to 100 suitcase nukes were lost, though Russia denied this. Lebed's charge elicited an immediate response from several senior government officials, including Prime Minister Viktor Chernomydrin, who denied the existence of these weapons and argued that the Russian arsenal remains safe and secure. In 1997, Lebed contended that the Soviet Union had created around 250 suitcase-sized portable nuclear weapons, similar to the United States' B-54. And of course, the GRU had planted nukes all over America, which were to go off in times of war, and thanks to a GRU traitor, the majority of them were dug up when this defector sold their location to the Americans in response for asylum and loads of money. So it was the Russians, the GRU, that had planted loads of nukes all over America during the Cold War. And here we got another story. Alarming claims that Russia has lost control of more than 100 suitcase-sized nuclear bombs were swiftly denied yesterday. And although Belarus, Kazakhstan and Ukraine returned Soviet-era weapons to Russia, fears persist about unaccounted nuclear materials. Former Russian security advisor Alexander Lebed once claimed. So we know that Ukrainians wouldn't sell any weapons on the black market, would they? They're not known for selling weapons on the black market, are they, cameraman? They never sold a weapon on the black market. So, Geller is absolutely right in his estimation, except for Lebed says Russia has lost track of 100 nuclear bombs, and according to MI6, Al-Qaeda bought 2. The Iranians, of course, would have bought more, and anyone and their dog could have bought these suitcase nukes, which of course would have been, you know, it's a bit of a downer if you're in Manhattan and it goes off, but you know, you don't really care if you're not in Manhattan, do you? All those rich pricks getting nuked or fried or getting radiation doses. But thanks to Elon Musk and his Tesla death engines, one suitcase nuke can wipe out America. So you can see why Trump went into an epileptic fit, was frothing at the mouth, because he became an actor in Tim Rifat's Dr. Strangelove movie, and he didn't like it. He didn't like that at all. He's getting loads of radiotherapy very, very soon, and he's not a happy man, and he hasn't got cancer yet, but he will have. And if you want to know more about the story of these missing nukes, suitcase nukes, then it's tons on here. 84 of 132 devices are missing. We do not know what the status of the other devices is. We could just not locate them. Russian or General Lebed. No direct evidence that any have been stolen. US Assistant Secretary of Defense of Nuclear, Chemical, Biological Programs, January 2003. Now, we know, of course, that the Americans don't lie. Currently, the actual numbers of the missing suitcase nukes are uncertain. Well, the Iranians just need 1 and 50 old Tesla batteries, which you can buy in cash from a scrapyard decades ago. So this gigantic, let's find out where all of these Tesla batteries are, Mr. President, is impossible. So the NSA, of course, got shit-canned by Trump, because, of course, the only way to find them is to hear Iranians discussing over the phone the location of their suitcase nukes and the Tesla batteries, because the remote viewers can't find them, and they've been in place for a long period, and with the porous border of Biden, it's assured that anyone who wanted to put a suitcase nuke in America has put a suitcase nuke in America. Here we've got the Iranians advocating Donald Trump's assassination, and what better way to assassinate Donald Trump than carrying Code 60? So they're promising he's way out of line any day now in revenge for the blood of martyr Soleimani. A few bullets are going to be fired into that empty skull of his, and he'll be drinking from the chalice of a cursed death. Oh, a cursed death. Oh, what could that mean, cameraman?
Psychic warfare.
Ayatollah Khamenei, there was rather an ominous pronouncement. I thought, with the destruction of Israel because of the troubles over Gaza and the Houthis and so on. No, our aim is to destroy the United States.
I just wanted to quickly pick your brain on Iran. I know that you've got some real expertise in the area. Iran has gone from being the thing that everybody was very, very, very worried about over the last sort of 12 months or so as the situation in Gaza was developing and contagion into the wider region. Since January, attention has been elsewhere. But I think you're very nervous that there's still acute danger in the region.
I think there is a general perception, and it is a question mark rather than a known fact, that they think they're getting very close to serious weaponization in the nuclear program. And hence we had a front letter to the Supreme Leader and the leadership saying we have got to do some sort of deal on nuclear, forget about the JCPOA, the agreement of 2015-2016. We've got to do something about it, or we will have to react. I'm sorry to say that you just have to look. There are 3 carrier groups in the region. There's a French carrier group there. They've moved B-2 bombers to Guam. It's extremely worrying, and I think quite rightly, we've seen the Houthis in a way as a symptom, an outlier of this very, very grave problem, which is developing. I think it's so grave. It's very, very interesting. I'm sorry to go back to my favourite pronouncement by Sherlock Holmes. There's nothing so deceptive as an obvious fact. This obvious buildup is going on. Very few people are writing about it. I have 1 or 2 correspondents who almost phone me on a daily basis. Then, have you seen the move up? What's going on? What is the pressure? There's been no response from the Ayatollah. And unfortunately, from the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, there was rather an ominous pronouncement. I thought, with the destruction of Israel because of the troubles over Gaza and the Houthis and so on. No, our aim is to destroy the United States, he was saying, only in the last few weeks. So that is very worrying. I think, by the way, can I just say a quick observation about the Defence Review and so on? The big question is the R word, the resilience word, which we can't do, and you will have seen it in government. Resilience means redundancy and contingency as well. And and that's what we've had with stocks, military stocks. The other area, which people, you and I know very well, are very much addressed to, is actually modernising and making more effective the volunteer sector.
So what was interesting about Times Radio with Robert Fox is that the Iranians, with their supreme leader, have told the Americans they're going to destroy them. Which seems rather strange since they haven't got a missile that can hit Diego Garcia, where the B-2 bombers are stationed in the Indian Ocean, let alone the UK. And from there across the Atlantic to the east coast of America. What could the Ayatollah be meaning about we're going to destroy America?
Pronouncement. I thought, with the destruction of Israel because of the troubles over Gaza and Houthis and so on. No, our aim is to destroy the United States.